Imagine a world without time. No birthdays, no anniversaries, no seasons. No planting seasons, no harvest times. No way to know when the floods would come. No way to plan for the future. This was the world of our ancestors, until they began to look up, and they saw patterns in the sky that would change everything. We are talking about the calendar, humanity's first attempt to measure time itself. Welcome back. Today we are not talking about clocks or watches. We are talking about the calendar, humanity's first attempt to measure time itself. The calendar is older than writing, older than the wheel, older than metal. Our ancestors watched the sky. They saw the sun rise and set. They saw the moon wax and wane. They saw the stars shift with the seasons. And they began to count. We are talking about the calendar, humanity's first attempt to measure time itself. The first calendars were not written down. They were carved into bone, stone, and wood. The oldest known calendar is over 30,000 years old, a carved bone from France, with notches that match the lunar cycle. Our ancestors were not just hunters, they were astronomers. The earliest civilizations all had calendars. The Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Chinese, and the Maya. They all needed to know when to plant, when to harvest, and when to celebrate. The Sumerian calendar was based on the moon. It had 12 months of 29 or 30 days, but it did not match the solar year. So every few years they added an extra month. This was the first leap year. The Egyptians had a different approach. They relied on the rising of the star Sirius. When Sirius appeared in the dawn sky, the Nile would flood, bringing fertile soil. They created a solar calendar of 365 days, the first true solar calendar. The Egyptians also divided the year into 12 months of 30 days, plus 5 extra days for festivals. This was the basis for our modern calendar. The Chinese calendar is even older. It was developed around 2600 BCE, during the reign of the legendary Yellow Emperor. It was a lunisolar calendar, combining both the moon and the sun. It is still used today for traditional festivals. The Maya of Central America created one of the most accurate calendars in history. They had 2 interlocking calendars, a solar calendar of 365 days, and a ritual calendar of 260 days. They could predict eclipses, planetary movements, and even the end of cycles. The Maya calendar did not predict the end of the world, as some believed in 2012. It simply marked the end of a cycle and the beginning of another. But the calendar that most of the world uses today comes from Rome. The Roman calendar was a mess. It had 10 months, starting in March. It was inconsistent, and politicians often added extra days for political reasons. In 46 BCE, Julius Caesar decided to fix it. He introduced the Julian calendar, a solar calendar of 365 days, with a leap year every 4 years. It was a great improvement,
and it lasted for over 1600 years. But the Julian calendar was still slightly too long. By the 16th century, it was off by 10 days. Easter was moving away from spring, and the church was not happy. In 1582, Pope Gregory the 13th introduced the Gregorian calendar. It removed 10 days from October and adjusted the leap year rule. It was the calendar we still use today. The Gregorian calendar was not adopted everywhere at once. Protestant and Orthodox countries resisted because they did not trust the Pope. England adopted it in 1752. Japan adopted it in 1873. China adopted it in 1912. Russia adopted it in 1918, after the revolution. But the calendar is not just about dates. It is about power. Who controls the calendar controls time itself. The French Revolution tried to create its own calendar, the French Republican calendar. It had 10-day weeks to break the power of the church. It did not last. The Soviet Union also tried to create a new calendar. With 5-day weeks and 6-day weeks, it failed. The calendar is not just a tool, it is a symbol. It represents order, control, and the human desire to measure the infinite. But the calendar is also deeply personal. It marks our birthdays, our anniversaries, our milestones. It gives structure to our lives. Without a calendar, we would be lost in time. We would not know when to plant, when to harvest, or when to celebrate. We would not know how old we are, or how long we have been alive. The calendar has also been used to oppress. Colonial powers imposed their calendars on indigenous peoples. They erased local time and replaced it with their own. But indigenous communities have resisted. They have maintained their own calendars, connected to the land, the seasons, and the stars. They remind us that time is not universal. In the 19th and 20th centuries, we added time zones. We divided the world into 24 zones based on the position of the sun. We created international date lines. We standardized time for the railways, for aviation, and for the internet. Today, we measure time in nanoseconds. We use atomic clocks that lose only 1 second every 100 million years. We have gone from a carved bone to atomic precision. But the calendar is still imperfect. The Gregorian calendar does not match the solar year exactly. Every few thousand years, we will need another adjustment. Time is not a straight line. It is a cycle. And so, from a bone carved 30,000 years ago to the atomic clock, from the rising of Sirius to the age of satellites, the calendar has been with us for all of recorded history. It has shaped our civilizations, our beliefs, and our lives. The next time you look at a calendar, remember, you are seeing the work of thousands of years of observation, mathematics, and human curiosity. You are seeing time itself, measured, divided, and given meaning. If you want more stories about humanity's greatest discoveries, hit subscribe. Because the first sparks were just the beginning. I will see you in the next curiosity. Maybe about the first map. or writing? What ancient discovery should I uncover next? Comment below.